Yeah, it was just funny to see like this guy on like with a Jeep with like 44-inch tires and beadlocks, all this like big redneck stuff to go bang around on some rocks, like have to stop me and talk to me about my bicycle. And then he got kind of bummed out when I said it was a California frame builder, but you know, whatever. I'm John with the Radavist, and we're here in Santa Fe, New Mexico in the La Tierra Trail Network doing another beautiful builds video. This bike was a show bike. That doesn't mean it's not meant to be thrashed. So this bike gets the craziest reactions from people. Cyclists are like, whoa, you got a beach cruiser. You know, Jeep guys that I'll see out in the desert are always asking about it, like, oh man, I got a Schwinn too. But this bike was built in 2015 by a guy named Curtis Inglis. And Curtis Inglis is a ripper, an awesome friend of mine. We've ridden all over the place. I've ridden this bike in Moab with him on his Retrotec. We've ridden Downeyville, which is like pretty technical terrain for a hardtail. But he's just a great guy. It's amazing having a bike that your friend has built. Curtis makes one-on-one custom bikes specifically for the owner. And that's obviously, this paint job looks very much like my aesthetic choice. But a few other things too. Curtis looked at my biometrics. So I have really long legs, and that means that my hips tend to want to like rock back and forth. And with a slacker seat angle, I get less hip rotation and less pain on longer rides. So he's got this like kind of elegant seat tube bend, and the seat tube angle is a little bit slacker, which is, you know, these days we're seeing like 77-degree seat tube angles that are really steep. And then, you know, I kind of prefer a little bit higher of a bottom bracket just to make it like more playful. But ultimately, Curtis Inglis took some information from me and delivered a bike that, I mean, I feel natural on it. I think I look natural on it. It fits me great. And it was awesome because we could future-proof it. This is called the Funduro, which is Curtis's kind of all-encompassing brand, like label for his hardtails. It's a 140 travel 29er, and it's got this like really unique double top tube, and it's got a beautiful segmented seat stay in the back. We'll get to the back of this bike in a little bit, but what really changed this bike for me are these bars. And forged in the flames of hell, also known as Albuquerque, this guy Keaton makes these bars called Doom bars. As soon as I saw them, I had to buy a set. These are called the Legal Drinkers. They have about 20 degrees of back sweep, pretty flat, they're nickel plated. It's a BMX 22-2 clamp, so you have to run a shim on a 31/8 stem. But they're just these 840 millimeter torque monsters. Last year, my buddy Bailey, who owns Sincere Cycles in town, he's a big single speeder. He's got, you know, a really fast time on the Tour Divide, racing from Canada to Mexico on his single speed. He's really hard to ride with because he's always hammering off the front, but people really respect his opinions on single speed, myself included. So I got to riding with him and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to convert my Retrotec to single speed. And so we kind of worked on trying to figure it out. So I hit Curtis up and I was like, hey man, is there any way we could chop the rear end off the Funduro and put the Paragon rocker dropouts on? And he was like, yeah, sure, send it my way. So I sent the bike out to him. He chopped the rear end off, welded on a new one, and was like, well, what do you want to do? You want to paint it to match? And I was like, no, let's just leave it raw. So I used this stuff called Black Magic that's a patina agent, and I just completely covered it in this patina agent to blue the frame. And so it's got like this kind of nice black coat on it. And Curtis put the Paragon rockers on. I sprung for these Paragon Machine Works titanium bolts because it kept the rockers from slipping. Those bolts are also like $200. Not quite $200, but I remember it pinching at the time when I bought them. And I think I'm running like 30/19? Yeah, 30/18 on this bike. So it's really good for this kind of like low country, single speed XC, like, you know, terrain where it's just kind of swoopy. It's not a lot of climbing. If I do take it up to the mountains, you know, it goes 32/22. That's a great gear, but then it's kind of slow pedaling across town. But end of the day, I've got this bike that just looks like an old hot rod from the 50s, maybe a rat rod with all the exposed steel now, that is honestly like the perfect tool for the job. It's got a Thompson Elite dropper that I've never had to service, and I got it in 2015. It's just been a great bike. It actually started off as a 27.5 by 3-inch tire. And at the time, there weren't a whole lot of like production bikes coming out of that tire size. And so Curtis made it so it would fit a 29 by 2.6 or a 275 by 3. I went with a 29er by 2.6 for this terrain, mostly just because it's more, it's kind of like riding a scalpel versus like riding a rolling pin. You know, like you can really start to snap through some of the turns and really control the bike a little bit better. I'm also like a big guy in general, so a 29er wheel just feels more comfortable under me. But the bike is still really flickable. It's got great lines. I mean, I dare say this, it's perfect. There's absolutely nothing I would change. Might want to put a new fork on it one day though, because that one's kind of clapped out.